I have a very interesting guest here today. I'm with Alan Holland, who is the CEO of Keelvar, hailing over from Ireland. And basically, Keelvar Systems is a leader in the new field of sourcing automation for procurement. A very interesting area for indeed. And the team has offices across Dallas, Cork, Berlin, and even in Rio. And the company has been around for about 8 years. So we're very curious to learn from Alan much more about it. Alan in itself, who's the founder, comes with a background and PhD in computer science. Has been specializing a lot into game theory and artificial intelligence. So I think a very interesting founder indeed, with very much a technical edge to him. So Alan, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Lucas.
Very good. So maybe tell us about Keelvar in your own words. Like, what is it all about?
So here at Keelvar, our mission is to raise the bar in procurement and automate sourcing excellence, because it's actually quite challenging for big companies to to negotiate at scale with hundreds or possibly thousands of suppliers, and every spend category has its nuances and its quirks, and different strategies work better in different categories, but also in different regions. So we have two products. We have one is a sourcing optimizer that's a very powerful and flexible, kind of a best-in-class type of resourcing solution that has an optimization engine under the hood. But we also realize that not everybody in procurement is familiar with optimization or the power that can offer. So we built bots as proxy users so that we could programmatically encode sourcing strategies and have bots actually go to market and find goods and services on behalf of companies. So scaling excellence in sourcing is our mission.
Interesting. It's a very interesting point that you were making there, that the awareness sometimes about this optimization potential isn't there yet. Who would be the types of clients who are realizing that potential? Who would be, the types of companies that getting started with Keelvar?
The companies that we work with tend to be the large enterprises from older industries, manufacturing, retail, automotive, electronic goods even. So, brands like Coca-Cola, BMW, Siemens, Daimler, Samsung, and these large companies who need to move a lot of goods and products and rely on a very diverse set of suppliers to make their entire operation work effectively.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And who would be the champion within those companies? Like, somebody has to, realize the potential and reach out to you guys.
Yes, so the champions for us tend to be at HQ in most of these companies, where there's kind of an agent of change or people charged with transforming processes. And we usually end up working with corporate supply chain management teams who recognize that this is a transformative technology and that they need to roll it from HQ outwards across their organization and educate their teams globally about new processes and new ways of doing work that they'd like to support.
Very good. Those type of change agents, as you were describing them, how do they actually discover Keelvar? Like, what is a typical path or a journey, or maybe the channels even that they would go through in order to hear about you guys and then getting started?
I would say in our first 5 or 6 years, it was typically our own customers talking to companies in their space, or employees at our customers moving to another company and bringing us in after they join another company. That was the most powerful and most effective way for us to move into our organization.
Mm-hmm.
More recently, it's changed. I suppose as we've grown, we've developed a marketing function, and we can now spread the message more widely. So it's a more diverse, a set of sources of inbound leads that are arriving now.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So you, as you're mentioning there, you coming more and more toward inbound leads. Like, what inbound leads? Like, what role would you say does the website play?
Our website is It's very, central to everything, really. I think everybody does their research now, and companies that come knocking on our doors, generally kind of Fortune 1000 companies who've researched the field, and they perhaps have read reports from Gartner or Spend Matters about best of breed solutions, and they've read our materials, and they're usually coming to us looking for a demo and just to discuss commercials and how our solution is rolled out, and the speed of rollout, and just I suppose to delve into more details then.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Looking at the website, as you mentioned, inbound becoming more important for the company. What would you say is the key strength of the website? Is it the ability to, convert visitors to maybe a sales conversation or a demo once they're on the page, or is it, the quality of the leads? Is it maybe even the experience you can provide? Where do you see the strength of the website?
The first, I would say, first and most important thing from our perspective is an education aspect. So that, what we're doing is quite different to anybody else in our space, and we're kind of evangelists for a new way of working in procurement. So we provide a lot of materials, and the video materials, and there's also PDFs and white papers that we make kind of relatively easy to access. We don't put them behind sign up behind any walls of any kind, and we let prospects do a lot of research themselves. And then I would say the next most important function is around events and coordination of events. When you're a disruptor in your field, you need to be putting yourself out there and doing, I suppose, being novel in your marketing initiatives. And one thing that we did recently is we've set up a human and machine contest, so that we can have a bot competing against a human expert buyer, and we have huge interest in that. We have huge number of signups from a whole range of companies that we've never spoken to before. So it's that's proven exceptionally effective, and it's even caught us by surprise.
Very good. And if somebody from a company who's listening might be interested in that field or those type of events, could you tell me a little bit, how could they participate, or how could they get started?
Well, what we're doing is we're going to do a contest, and we've got judges involved. So some of our customers will act as judges in this contest, and kind of it's a little like procurement's version of Kasparov versus Deep Blue. We actually brought in Gary Kasparov as a guest speaker for this, because he's a very authoritative speaker on the advent of intelligent systems in the workplace, and how people need to be working with AI rather than trying to oppose it. That we should welcome it and see it as an opportunity, not a threat. So what we've done is we've set up a contest so that our customers are invited to share some of their demand. So we're going to focus on a category, and it's ocean freight. So we have, let's say, Logitech and Samsung and Siemens and Novartis. They'll share maybe 10 containers they need to move between different destinations. So maybe a container of medical supplies for hospitals in the US East Coast needs to get there from Europe. What vessels have we got available from this port? The bot has to find out, okay, what options have we got? What carriers are moving? What dates are they moving? Do they support refrigerated containers? What port will they get to? How fast will we get there? How much will it be? Also CO2 emissions. Is this an environmentally friendly option? So we're going to have an expert buyer who knows a lot about the ocean freight industry, and he won't need to research some things. He'll know some things already, but there may be other things. Let's say you move to Southeast Asia, where you've got to move something from Manila to Tokyo, and it's like, okay, you might know that area of the world as well, so he may have to do more research, whereas the bot is going out, the bot can do more work in parallel, but it doesn't have, let's say, the personal connections to ring somebody up and say, can you do me a best deal, please? So the advantages that humans have and advantages that machines have, and this is kind of a unique contest we set up so that we can try and engage overall which one works best. And it's not that one is always better than the other. It's that they just have their different strengths and weaknesses. So our website we've kind of used to market that event, but also collect all of the sign-ups and just manage the process of educating them about new developments that are occurring because we're adding more speakers, more panelists, and there's things happening all the time. So we have an integration with HubSpot that's it's very effective and works well.
Very good. If we come back to the website, what would you say is on the flip side, where do you see room for improvement?
Where do you see? I would like to have more video content. I think that video content is more engaging, and it tends to be more difficult to produce, right? So people steer clear of it because it is more challenging to produce it to a high level and frequently as you ought to. So too many companies have avoided it. So I would like to have more video content and have regularity around video content. And that's one area I think we'd like to improve.
Very good. If we would be looking behind the curtain, right, of the company, in terms of the sales process, like, if somebody signs up on the website, like, what happens next?
So we have a qualification process because we know ourselves that we try to kind of be clear with prospects that this is a solution for big companies, and sometimes companies come to us and they categorize themselves as big, but maybe they're not. They're not big when you contrast them or compare them to Fortune 1000 companies, and their scale may not merit the type of sophisticated solutions we bring. So we first have kind of qualification questions we put to them, and maybe that it's a call that's required, and discuss where their major challenges may be, and maybe it's just they've got a small number of niche challenges, or maybe it's a broader set of sourcing challenges across the entire procurement function. So we just try and identify first if we're the right fit, and we try to be straight up with them and say, no, you're too small, or your needs could be satisfied with a very simple solution, and so that's the next qualification step.
Very good. Very, very interesting. If we switch gears a little bit and talk about you as a leader in the company, right? How do you educate yourself? Like, what is, the type of content that you consume?
I find myself, I'm an avid reader, but I find myself reading more content. I'd be on Twitter and LinkedIn, but I would follow certain publications that describe, I suppose, best practice for tech founders. And I've actually found that VCs curate can be some of the best curators of content and can share some of the content. Some of them are very good at articulating where a company needs to be at various stages in its journey, because VCs see so many companies that emerge from, $500,000 ARR to $1 million to 2 to 5 to 10 to 50 to 100 million ARR. They see the challenges that occur at different stages, and they can relate to those. So you actually should follow what investors who specialize in different stages say, even if you didn't want VC funding, and if you wanted to bootstrap your company and grow, you can still learn a lot by listening to guidance about the type of hires you should make at different stages. And don't hire certain roles too soon. Don't wait too long. And when's the right time to take certain actions, or what type of if you're attaining certain types of benchmarks, what does it mean for you? Is it maybe the opportunity in your space is a greenfield opportunity, and maybe you need to be hitting the accelerator faster, or maybe you should just keep going profitably and keep growing organically. There's certainly no one size fits all, but if you follow a lot of the best tech investors and tech commentators, and they share things from Harvard Business Review, and other publications that sometimes they're only 10-minute reads, but you can learn a lot from them. And then there's books like from Christensen to Play Bigger, and there's certain books that I would say have been influential in my own thinking. But read widely and kind of assimilate it all and form your own views. Then that's pretty cool.
Super interesting. Since we're slowly coming to an end of the interview, I would have 3 rapid fire questions for you. Are you ready for those?
Sure, go ahead.
If there would be no boundaries in technology, what would be one thing that you would want to have fixed for Keelvar today?
I be able to hire remote workers anywhere without worrying about tax issues and barriers that governments put up to employing the right people for the right roles.
I think the Pathmonk team resonates with you there quite a bit. What's the last thing that kept you awake at night about your company?
I think it's quite a few years back, because I would say maybe 4 or 5 years back, when we took seed funding and we pivoted about 18 months after we started and took seed funding. So we were running out of money and we were pivoting into a new space, because we started by trying to sell our solution to public sector and realized we're too slow. We've got to pivot into enterprise. We got some enterprise deals. We were very tight on cash. So that kept me awake. But
Understandably so. Understandably so. And the very last question, if today, if we're zooming about 8 years and about 4 months back, and we're looking into, your first day, you're working on Keelvar systems, what would be the one advice that you would give yourself?
It's a marathon, not a sprint. I started off sprinting, sprinting, and we were sprinting in the wrong direction, as it turns out, in the first 18 months. And if I hadn't sprinted so fast, I would have been closer to the origin point that I needed to get back to and start again. So, yeah.
How did you, catch yourself? Like, how did you detect yourself that you're sprinting not running in the right speed? Like, what was it that you noticed?
I think it was that it was a sales. It was back. It seems like ancient history, but in sales deals 6 or 7 years ago, you'd have been expected to show up at a customer site, wait your turn at reception. Half an hour later, they come knocking and they escort you in. And somebody escorted me into a sales. This is a government body, right? And you have to get the accreditation. It's a very slow, painful process just to get past reception. And the decision maker wasn't there. And I'd flown into that country and stayed overnight in a rubbish hotel. And so they're not. I just kind of, it dawned on me.
Makes sense.
The wrong type of buyer for what we're doing. We're focused on achieving excellence and speed. They don't have the same imperative as us. So I would think leaving that meeting, I realized an about turn, a 180-degree turn was needed.
Really appreciate that you shared these stories and these insights of growing Keelvar systems. Alan, thanks for being part of Pathmonk Presents today.
Thank you.